So there is very high demand to fill up the conservative positions and almost no demand to fill up surgery positions. In most cases at least, what was detected, then surgery made by shareholders or co-owner of the praxis because it brings more money and less annoying work with patient, because no need to deal with unhappy patient or with complications afterwards if it can be treated by the just conservative doctor. Also no need then to handle a lot of patient, to find out someone for surgeries and to do the explanations, answer the questions and things like that. Plus, of course, what is also turned on, that it helps maintaining self-confidence and build up God's complex or God syndrome, which means that sometimes, like a bunch of chefs, they feel better that the others around, and yeah, it significantly inflates their importance. So yeah, unfortunately, that's situations. I brought up some comments from doctor colleagues which wanted just to read. During microsurgeries, chef arts had always removed second monocle from surgery equipment, which was used during surgery to exclude any possibility to see and learn for a young doctor nearby. It's just assistant arzt in Weiterbildung. Another one tells, they asked me to do a nursery work, move heavy patient, do paperwork, clean up, and always were telling that next time you might assist during the surgery. Guess what? Next time never happens. I'm on 5th year of the Weiterbildung and I still cannot make neither injections nor basic cataract nor eyelid surgery. It's assistant arts in Weiterbildung in ophthalmology. Another one. In my homeland, I was a PhD. I was a retinal surgeon with more than 10 years of experience in the surgery. In Germany, I sit for 3 years doing only basic conservative, and now I moved to another country. So it was also assistant arts in Weiterbildung expat, and it was 5+ years in Germany. Now, not anymore in Germany. So yeah, as you see, there is no real high demand, because in most cases you don't need that many surgeons. You rather need a lot of conservative practices and positions, just to be able to catch up as many people as possible for surgery. And then, of course, surgery starts and earns additional pile of money. The problems. Kaufhaus problems and statutory health insurance issues. So first, already was mentioned, but just makes sense to remind, is limited permits amount nature made it as a trade coin. Owners can sell to someone Kaufhaus, so it's named Kaufhaus-Verkaufen or Praxisübernahme, and numbers for purchase there could really easily reach hundreds of thousands quickly. Second part is big corporations, usually able to pay the highest price on the market, and they just take over praxis, including its permit, so Kaufhaus. They focus actually mainly on areas where easy to make money, for example ophthalmology or radiology or dentist, and some similar, gynecology as well. And the separated nature of permits, operation or surgery versus conservative, limits doctor or requires extreme investments to get by more permits in one location, if this doctor is an owner of the praxis, for example. On the other side, absence of real control from the insurance company, and if, for example, the praxis keeps under the radar, yeah, there is no real control, like if you stay like low. So basically, patients in the praxis can be rotated every quarter for the checkup. Why quarter? Because there is quarter limits. So no one restricts, no one really carefully rechecks why it happened. So and basically the checkup appointment also takes the slot in the planning of the practice, and afterwards the practice will get a payment. Because of the, for example, German nature, I mean, the Germans in many cases, they used to let's say, live and plan things carefully. So it's kind of probably a very good skill, I would tell. But that's the thing. So if, for example, doctor tells that, okay, in 4 months or in 3 months, usually in 4 months, you just need to return and do, for example, additional checkup and whatever. In most cases, they plan and they return. Doctor gets his, let's say, additional money for receiving the patient within this quarter, and then they just keep rotating the same amount of patients, like again and again and again. And new ones in this case not accepted because KV requires you to stay below a particular threshold, so you cannot take more patients because it makes no sense. You will not be really paid for that. And yeah, in this case, you can sometimes find out in the practice that's even written, we do not accept new patient. Only if you already was a patient with us, then we will take you. Because there is some kind of regulation in Germany, if you take patient at least 1 or 2 times, like on the permanent basis, then it's just assigned on you, kind of silent assignment. If it was not an urgent case. So yeah, thereby there is no free appointments or not that easy to catch up appointment if you just on the public insurance. And no new patient accepted, old ones just rotated, and yeah, even if you are already a patient and if there is nothing really critical, then yeah, most probably you'll get your next appointment in 1 quarter. Then yeah, sometimes making not necessary activities, yeah, in most cases they are not questioned, because just really impossible to check. Let's be honest, it's pretty much subjective field to tell what is really necessary, what is not. Of course, if, let's say, another doctor would start to check, he would or she would tell that, yeah, that was not necessary. But as soon as there is no real control over that and there is no centralized base with patient and cases there, no one really recheck it until patient goes, for example, to the court, or there were some kind of serious complications and their investigation starts. But in all the rest cases, as far as I heard from other doctors, there's no real regulation if you, again, do not become way too hungry and don't try to take way too much so that you appear on the radar. As soon as, like mentioned, for example, there seems to be missing the independent insurance medical auditor, which might then just challenge why, for example, some reoccurring appointments happening, why, for example, this recurring thingy is happening. As soon as there is no real questions appearing, then yeah, a lot of practices just keep repeating the same things again and again. I know some of them were fined for that when there were some complaints, and then they got a very big fine. Since then they already became much more careful. They do not try, let's say, to misuse the system that aggressively as some others do. But yeah, it's in place, it's running, I mean, unfortunately. And as soon as there is no kind of automatic system to be able to catch up these cases, yeah, there is a lot of space for misusage, unfortunately. And I mean, guess what is happening? As soon as there is too many things happening which were not mandatory, and insurance doesn't care way too much or cannot catch it that easily, then yeah, insurance premium gonna go up. So you will need to pay, as a person who pays for the insurance, you would need to pay more. Simple. It's mandatory at the end. The nature of the insurance is mandatory in Germany, so no choice. Practically, also, at least what I saw in some, let's say, papers, that KV is actually also interested in the money flow, because at the end they are as a mediator, as soon as they are association of the public insurance companies, and they mediate some workflows, and as far as I also understand, they also mediate some money flows. They get up to 3%, 3.8% per, let's say, from this money flow. So it's depending on the type of the operations, but it's usually go between 2.4 until 3.8, at least according to like information from 2023 Q4 from Berlin KV. Another also problem of the public health insurance is that patients are going directly to the specialists. When they just assume that something goes wrong, like, I don't know, maybe you assume that something goes wrong with your eyes or something like that, you just go directly to the specialist. And if you don't like the diagnosis from the specialist, then you might go to another one doctor just to get second opinion or third opinion. So yeah, sometimes at least doctors whom I was talking to, they even told that yeah, there's a bunch of patients sometimes going and wandering across a lot of different doctors in attempts to find out the diagnosis which they want to hear or which they manage to, let's say, set for themselves according to internet or whatever. And were even cases when this type of the patient came to the doctor and spent, I don't know, like 20 minutes with a lot of questions, just challenging, asking the topics and pretending that they don't know anything about this topic until, for example, husband or wife from this person tells, yeah, okay, come on, let's stop. I mean, yes, he was already for many times. So even sometimes the surroundings of this patients already become tired from this wandering around. And yeah, in most cases it's still gonna be covered by insurance, unfortunately. So yeah, kind of sometimes that's an issue. And yeah, as mentioned, because of this type of the misuse on the one side by patient, on the other side sometimes also by the practices themselves, and to be able to keep premium on acceptable level, KV tries to sometimes the limit the way or ways and directions how the doctors and practices can earn money, which means that at some point they start to earn less, and to be able somehow to keep still the right amount of income which they need to, for example, to keep the practice, they need just to increase the amount of patients going through if it's not that limited, for example. So yeah, unfortunately, instead of having like strong controlling, we just go into the limitation directions when, okay, you cannot get that amount of the patient, you will not get this amount of money for the treatment and things like that. If, for example, you compare with Switzerland, then there is completely different system, and I mean there they have much more time per patient, but it's paid much better at the end. But yeah, they have other issues at some point. So yeah, no perfect system, unfortunately. I was mentioned that yeah, the first problem, of course, with some KV that, or let's say it like that, with the nature of the public insurance. But another problem, as I also mentioned, is that big corporations or investment funds, they are purchasing a big pile of the praxis around Germany. So they're just consuming the ambulatory medicine. And yeah, you might tell, yeah, so what? I mean, someone purchases, it's fine. Yes and no, because it has the issues. So what is the problem when the big corporation purchasing the ambulatory, and let's say the praxis where maybe you are curing right now? The problem of the big organization, they focus on the margins. So they need to be profitable, and the main goal, for example, of investment funds is to be profitable. This is the way how they make it the business. And yeah, they buy a lot of assets in, for example, in Germany, and they just doing the debt in direction of the Germany. So they assign the debt to the German practice, for example, and for example take the money into, or income at the end, into, for example, Luxembourg or any other country where the lower tax for the income. So on the one side they build in the debt into Germany, on the other side they also need to be profitable, for example, to compensate their own debts, for example, if they took the loans from the banks and whatever. So they need to pay additional interest as well, and they still need to be profitable. According to some journalist investigations, it was around plus 20% of profit is expected always by the investment funds. What is big corporation like outcome of the consumption? They don't care about employees. So one left employee, yeah, the conveyor of the patient must run. Employees not that critical. For them, important money and profitability. This is a key to success, and if cheaper, it's better. So they always tend to find the cheapest employees as possible. If not possible, of course, they also don't hesitate to go above the market price when it's needed. Or if you really need to quickly find out the person to be sure that you will not lose the Kaufhausits because it's not working. Quality for them also is not critical, actually. And they just need someone with permit, with Arzt-Kammer registration, to be able to legally invoice the insurance companies at the end. Or just in other words, one can charge medical insurance only with specialist certificate. Simple. So that's why on the interviews, in many cases, like when you try to go to the interview to the medical positions in ambulatory, no one would ask you questions about proficiency. No one, for example, bring you, I don't know, picture and say, okay, what you can see on this picture, what is here, what is there. It's just rather a talk, and in many cases the question also, yeah, do you have the Arzt-Kammer registration? Yeah, wonderful. Sometimes the interview talks are held even by completely non-medical staff. So just manager in the development, so person who makes money and thinking how to make the money, or some kind of marketing related things so on. So even non a doctor. Good and bad? I don't know. For me, sounds bad. Then, of course, if you're a big corporation, educating of employee makes no sense. I mean, in the context of medicine. Because, I mean, you don't want to devote time for something in the future. Rather, you would prefer to maximize income right now, just through building 3-minute medicine. So, yeah, why to invest time and let a young doctor to, I don't know, like make his mistakes, do maybe operations very slowly, carefully. If another doctor can do it very quickly, done, and that's it. So, conveyor should run. Faster is better. Changing doctors as outcome from previous points, for example, lowering the margins or making too high pressure on the doctor to get more patient, to build more, let's say, revenue, and then the doctors start to leave, for example, the praxis, and rotation of the employees in this praxis would start to increase. If you try maybe even to search the open positions, if you name some, or if you know some names of these big funds or investment companies, you'll see that a lot of open positions actually from the big companies. They're constantly searching, and I know that some positions are not closed already for a year. So they just find quickly some replacement doctor to just to make Kaufhausits working, so that a little bit of money going through. Then this person also leaves because it was short-term contract, and they keep searching and searching and searching. If they find someone, then this someone might work for a year and then say that no, I'm fed up, leave, and then they again search. But yeah, this is the reality. 3-minute medicine in Germany becomes already very normal in some areas. As soon as corporation grabs the location, so like, for example, particular location have X amount of the praxis around, and they start to purchase slowly here. As soon as they, let's say, manage to grab like a big pile of the praxis around, or there could be another case in one, for example, particular small city, there are 1 or 2 big, relatively big praxis. They purchase only 50% of the let's say capacity already in their hands. What they can do then next, they can actually reduce wages per employee. As outcome from previous point, as soon as employees are leaving, so in this case you can hire next one even on the lower rank or on the lower salary at the end. It's pretty easy to do, in the smaller city in particular, when there is not that much available places for work, then sometimes also doctors, which for example tidy coupled a particular location, they would, okay, I'll go to the lower, let's say, salary just because it's my location, or they just decide to leave completely location. And yes, there is some already locations which have lack of doctors, really, and only expats might work there because they are more flexible and they don't care too much that they're living in a very small city or village or whatever. So if you can name it, I would tell it's kind of sort of monopoly then, because yeah, you can dictate to your employees what to do in these conditions. Also in these conditions, patient is not in the priority as well. Only his insurance actually in priority and important. Basically, in this case, their goal to keep the patient flow on the right level, on the high level enough. Patient also have no choice to go. For example, if it's a relatively small city, then yeah, where you go? To another, let's say, location, you will drive to another city, for example, 50 kilometers, 20 kilometers. And maybe if it's eye doctor and to make special, let's say, checkup, they need to put additional, let's say, medicine to you so that you're not allowed to drive car anymore, or so on. So there's a lot of, let's say, things, and in most cases, the patient prefer to go somewhere to the local doctor. So somehow they have no choice, let's call it like that. Yes, it's not that visible in the very big cities where there's a lot of different, let's say, practices available, and even if they're consumed by different corporations, they still somehow a little bit competing with each other, but of course they keep synchronization with each other also, but yeah, that's a different story. And yeah, usually goal for the big corporation is to ensure that composites which you have purchased for money need to work on 150%. If you need to make money, then you need to be able to do more, and let's say as much as possible as human can do and as it legally allowed. And yeah, as mentioned, expected return, at least according to the Andier journalists, it's around 20%. And then when they made their margin at the end, or if they see that things are going a little bit worse, then they try to actually sell whatever they have purchased for as high price as it possible on the market. What is finding or interesting finding for me was that I found statistics on the Tagesschau, but still the source was Andier research. They put on the map the amount of Augenarztpraxis, so the ophthalmology practices which were purchased by the concerns, and there is like pretty much direct correlation with the density of the population. So as far as they see, for example, then the main purchasing happening and consumption happen exactly in the location with the higher density and in the big cities, which is pretty much logical because bigger city, more people there available, more people gonna be also with private insurance, with public insurances, so you can cover larger audience, and at the end you can make more money out of it at the end. It's already kind of official, if I can name it, but for example in Kiel, one corporation already handled half of the ophthalmologists available in the Kiel location. Pretty much similar happening in the Bavaria, in Augsburg. Berlin is also separated actually across multiple corporations, but at least not that much centralized, seems to me. This is basically monopoly-like state, and what does it mean for the healthcare in general? So first, as already was mentioned, from employee point of view, it's much easier for the employer to drop the wages for the personnel who are working in this practice and in this location and across the whole concern. Then, as soon as you have a missing of the strong competition, it also leads to overall drop of the quality, because there's no available alternatives for the patient. And yeah, of course, it's just the rule of monopoly. When someone managed to monopolize the market, then in many cases it leads or ends up with worsening of the quality. Then of course, in this case, employer can dictate also employees what to do, how to do it, burn them out, I don't care, in this case, a bunch of the employees might even not have the choice to go somewhere else, because also a lot of places around purchased by the same concern. So not that easy. I mean, if you live in this place, in other places you will not be hired anymore. Or unless, of course, they have real shitty situations, they need to have you, then they might tell, yeah, we'll hire you here, but then afterwards you kind of in the blacklist, let's name it like that. And yes, this situation already happening also. In some locations there is definitely a lack of doctors, so they just leave locations because doctors by nature, in most cases, they are quite flexible. I mean, they had to study in big city, then during their wider Bildung, they most probably were traveling across the Germany, for example, to grab here, there a little bit of experience to fill up their logbook. So they already know what does it mean not to live at home. So in many cases they are pretty much flexible and they can leave location. Of course, monopoly-like situation means that there is evaluation of the right of the patient to choose the doctor. I mean, yeah, you technically can choose the doctor, but as soon as the doctor belongs or works on the same concern and have the same requirements from the employer, then yeah, you can choose technically the doctors, but it will not change globally anything. So if they need to sell something, they're gonna sell you. So yeah, same requirements for the employees, most probably gonna be across the whole concern or in the whole company. Also, monopoly-like situation means that it's much easier to cooperate, for example, with pharmaceutical vendors or with any other vendors to either promote some products or actually push out someone else from the market. Just by, I don't know, put the right assignments, saying, okay, here or there you can purchase something, things like that. Doesn't matter that it happened, but there is a good potential for that. And yeah, in most cases, in the monopoly-like situation, when it's appearing, then yeah, main goal of the business in this case to be profitable, and consequences are not that important because you're the main player on the market. As the victims here gonna be, of course, patients, because yeah, they might get some manipulations which were not expected, which were not needed, and which potentially even could harm them. I mean, worst case scenario, it might be really harmful. They need to live with this manipulation until end of their life. In best case, it would be just yet another manipulation which cost money but didn't harm anyhow. And to the employees as well, because as already was mentioned, there also the chance to drop the wages on the market and say that, okay, now we're searching for the cheapest ever doctors, because we just need Arztausweis and the Arztkammer registration, and that's it. What it also means as outcome is degrading doctors' quality level and overall, because when there is no interest in the quality, but rather in the count, in the amounts, there is no need to talk about, for example, pricing your employees, to educate, to follow latest trends. There is even no space for education. Just do only what brings money. That's it. Simple. Basically, average money-making setup, it's usually, at least like in the corporation, and what you can also see, there's usually one operative or surgery praxis, and there is a bunch of practices around which are doing just, let's say, generic conservative things. And they are working like a pump. So conservative ones ensuring that they have very high, let's say, volume or flow of the patients. They try to cherry pick that one which is possible to do the operations, and they forwarding them to the central, let's say, location which does only surgeries or mainly focused on the surgeries. This is usually how it works. So in this case, all the ZITs, KV ZITs which were purchased worked on 100-120%, because priority of this practice, for example, to make as many patients as it possible and forward as many patients as it possible for the operations. And operational one, important only to ensure that there is very high flow and amount of the operations are made. Easy. Logic is simple. Yeah. As examples, I mean, like you might tell, yeah, tell it. The simple examples. A cataract surgery. So this is priority we're gonna be given. Injections. Some type of injections into the eye. They also would be in the priority. A reason is simple. The cataract surgery, it's rather mechanical work. It's very relatively simple operation, for example, comparing to eyelid chirurgy. And in case if a patient appears in the practice who, for example, needs the lid chirurgy, I don't know, because, for example, like there is really a requirement because patient already doesn't feel that well, for example, it cannot open eyes that easy. But the problem that lid chirurgy requires more time. And because it's not that paid well, the practice will not do it. Even if they have the possibility to make all the operations, their employees, like who are doing the surgeries, they don't know how to do it. And they even don't care about that. They don't want to learn it because it doesn't bring money. Simple. And there are cases like that. There are examples like that. You can find, if you have doctors, maybe you can talk with them. Maybe you'll find out actually from first, let's say, hands, not from me, but from someone else, these examples. So first, in ophthalmology, preference would always be to the cataract surgery, also to the injections. If we talk about dermatology, then, for example, removal of birthmarks, without even that one which have no any signs of cancer, also with priority to remove them because they're just paid and it's relatively simple operation. So just take the piece, then send it to laboratory for the checkup, and yeah, just get your invoice done. So as you see, the priority in most cases to the type of the surgeries which are very simple and which are very quickly to do. So simpler and faster, and of course important that they should be still paid well by the insurance company, and this is main priority. So if patient needs some other type of treatment, they don't do it, they just send it to the hospital, which brings also hospital to the bad situations because they have different type of the financing and they need to resolve all the rest cases. That one which, like the generic practice which are making money, they were not interested in. Sad for patient, sad for all the rest.